You're listening to Dramas Over Flowers. This is an episode of The Long Yak with Saya, Eunice and Boromir. Hi, I'm Saya. In this episode, we're looking back at our month of dramas new and old. Join us as we discuss the good, the bad, and the horribly mediocre. This podcast is a project by fans for fans. And before going any further, we want to thank you, dear listeners, for supporting us in so many ways, and our beloved patrons who make these episodes possible. You can find news and updates about the podcast on our Patreon page at patreon.com/dramasoverflowers. We're really close to reaching our next goal, which we plan to celebrate by doing an exclusive live stream as a special thank you to our patrons. If you want to be part of making the dream grow, there are a whole load of other ways to help. You can share our episodes on fan sites and social media, talk about the podcast to your drama-loving friends, or leave a review on iTunes or whichever Apple platform you use to listen to us. Do also check out our website at dramasoverflowers.net, where we have regular features such as the Weekend Drama Report with our weekly updates on what we're watching, as well as drama reviews and editorial pieces, sometimes with all three of us hashing things out in writing just like we do in person. Finally, you can get in touch with us with your thoughts and ideas. We're always reading the comments on YouTube and Drama Beans, and you can also follow us on Instagram at dramasoverflowers_podcast, tweet at us at dramasoverflow, or email us at dramasoverflowers@gmail.com. And that's it from me. Halt up and enjoy the episode. Hi everyone, this is Saya.
This is Anissa.
And this is Parma.
And this is the Long Yak for June. It's June, right? Not July. I've lost all track of time.
It is. I think it is. Yeah.
It's not. I'm not ready for July yet.
Well, I have those days where I'm like, I can't tell if we're going into winter or if we're going into summer, because who knows anymore.
Mm.
But whether you're going into winter or summer, I hope everyone is well, wherever you are, our listeners. And it's been a serious few weeks. I mean, it's always been serious, but I guess now people know about it. I don't know. I'm gonna hand this over because bye.
Who are you handing it to?
Whoever wants to take it, I need to stop talking.
Okay. Yeah, the world is still the way it is, and why don't we just jump straight into dramas this time?
That is a really solid plan.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Well, the fun thing is that I guess by the time this comes out, it will be old, but The King has just finished airing this weekend. And
yeah,
it's, you know, we're all like, I don't know, I mean, you guys are less closet than me, but I'm completely closet K-drama nerd in real life. Nobody knows my secret life. So, like, you're on Twitter, and random things are trending down the side, and suddenly you're like, trending in the UK, The King finale, and it's there's something very unsettling about it. You're like, why do people know about this? Why does it have 33,000 tweets? And I don't know what to do with this. Go away, everybody. At the same time as trying to convince everyone to watch dramas.
Isn't it also, like, weirder when it's, like, not something that you love a lot that's trending? Like, if it was Signal that was trending, wouldn't you have a different feeling?
That's so true. You're like, why is this drama of all dramas the one that everyone decided was amazing when it's, like, just, like, standard? It's mediocre. Actually, I'm sorry, I don't mean that. I do really like it. But among the general, like, sort of, the milieu of dramas, this is not, like, up there. It's not Signal level.
But, you know, I felt exactly the same thing a few weeks back when on Netflix, India, The King was, like, the third, I think, of top trending dramas. And I was like, wait, why are so many Indians watching The King? Why are my two worlds colliding?
Yeah.
I don't like this. But I also think that there's a difference between us trying to convince people who we know would love K-dramas for quote-unquote the right reasons, because they would understand the nuance, because they would really like the storytelling. It's one thing for us to try and convince people to watch because of those reasons, and another for a format that we spend so much time analyzing and, like, pulling apart and loving, to suddenly become mainstream fare, which to my mind slightly cheapens it. and I don't like that thought. So I'm probably acting like dude, it's Korean dramas. It's not mine. I can't, like, it's not mine. I'm not entitled to it. But I do feel,
I think it's that
slight bit of entitlement.
That feeling where you're like, because we're more critical about them and we approach them more critically as well. I mean, I feel the same way with the fandom sometimes. Like, for example, why is Strong Woman Do Bong-soon so popular and held up as, like, a drama you have to watch when you're like, it was trash! 2/3 of it was complete, like, trash. And, yeah, that's the drama that everyone is like, you have to watch this, it's amazing. And you're like, no, it's not amazing! Why are you saying it's amazing? When it's just,
I've had the experience more than once of, like, somebody I know or I'm related to being like, oh, I found this great show called Strong Woman Do Bong-soon. You like that Korean stuff, right? And I'm like, no.
Not that one.
Not that one. Especially, like, now on American Netflix, there are actually a few good dramas. Like, in the beginning, it was all crap. Like, Panda and Hedgehog and, like, terrible things. Terrible, like, K-pop, extreme survival, like, shows that are so bad that it's painful.
But you went and dug them up?
I did watch a couple of episodes of K-pop Extreme Survival. I'm not proud of it. But it's basically like something that is trying to be You're Beautiful, but it fails so spectacularly that it's, like, embarrassing.
I suppose when you look at it that way, it's like they're trying to capture the broadest demographic. Like, we're not the target audience, necessarily. Like, all of the K-pop fans or the oppa fans, that's who you really want to get watching.
That's true. I think it's just more like it's, if somebody enjoys that, like, that's cool. I'm not here to shame people for enjoying, like, quote-unquote bad TV, because, like, we've all enjoyed things that are 100% high-quality prestige television. I just feel sad when, like, that's the only exposure that somebody ever has to K-drama, and they're like, well, this is dumb. I'm never watching this again. And I'm like, but wait. But that's not all of it. It just makes me feel kind of sad. So, but, you know, what are you going to do?
All of that said, I actually, despite the fact that the show's aired, I'm up to episode 8, and I'm really into it. But, also, that said, everything we said about Umino last time still stands. And I remember the last time we talked about it, I defended his, like, tone, and, like, you know, he's meant to be like this, and this is his character. But yeah, I have to agree with Anissa now. He really does have an extremely flat monotone, which is...
sad. I'm pouting. Yeah. You just can't see me.
I agree. Eunho is the least appealing thing about this drama. I watched the entire thing with my eyes on Kim Go-yeon, the actor playing Shinji, and of course Udo-han, who's just, I mean, killing it. What is that boy?
It's like just at the midway mark is where, like, Udo-han meets Udo-han, and you're like, this is pretty good. I'm really enjoying it. But the thing is, I find the plot really, really intriguing. But, like, I suddenly got the sense while watching, like, 7 and 8 that I can see Umino trying. I mean, he's not entirely incompetent. He is delivering lines. So I know what they're going for, even if it doesn't quite land. Yeah. So, like, I can compensate in my head, which I've been doing. I'm like, I redo his lines in my head, and I give him expressions, which is potentially more work than a person should do when they're watching dramas. But it's okay, because I'm watching it at speed, so I don't feel... I actually even have stopped watching it at speed, because that's how much I'm enjoying it. But I feel like maybe he studied Gongyu as, like, Dokkebi in Goblin, because I feel like he's aiming for that delivery, except it's not quite landing. He doesn't have, like, an innate sense of comic timing or
any timing.
Yeah, and also, like, Gongyu and like much more sensitive actors, they have, like, a certain amount of self-awareness even as they do the worst lines, and they're also unself-conscious about it. And it sounds like a weird sort of semi-contradictory thing, but it works. And that's how he can play a character like the Goblin, which is, like, in what world would you be okay with a character like that on paper? It's not about how he looks on paper, it's the execution. Whereas with Umino, he's calling it in, basically. But then the other thing I thought is it because he's been in army or something and that he's forgotten how to act? I don't know. I mean, it's a legitimate question. Like, I genuinely have been thinking about this, and it could be. But then I remembered his other shows.
No, and also you can give him that excuse for the first couple of episodes while he's warming up. He is exactly the same degree of monotone with his expression, his delivery, the slight off timing with the way he delivers things. This is me. It's like he's decided that this is how he wants to portray the character, and the way he wants to portray the character is as colorless as possible. He's sticking to his guns with this.
But then there was this really great scene, I think it's in episode 8, where he killed it. And it was dark and it was good. It was the part where he finds somebody from the kingdom in the Republic, and that person recognizes him, and the execution order, the suicide order.
Yeah.
That was really well done. It was like maybe a minute long, that scene, maybe 2, but it was absolutely, like, his delivery was perfect, his tone and his gravitas. Like, he tries for that gravitas in other points, but he had it in that point. Like, it was on point.
Yeah.
So he's got it somewhere. He just has to dig for it.
You're completely right. That scene was actually really well done. So the pitch he's going for really works in those grave scenes. There are scenes in later half of the drama where he's giving these really dark orders, or rather really serious orders that have to be carried out in this really serious, like, mandate by the king type of way. And he does those moments really well. Unfortunately, because I'm rewatching Goblin right now, and I can see Gong Yu go serious and grim and powerful, and then the next moment he's cracking jokes
like a
about
6-year-old.
Going to the Play Store or playing knife fights with the Grim Reaper.
Singing the Gaga with Underpants song.
Yeah, complaining about don't sing that song.
Or bickering with Lee Dong-wook.
And then suddenly, when he goes grim, he goes so dark and he's so powerful, and you're like, I can see that he's the goblin. This is a demigod.
Beings of Ancient Sorrow versus 6-year-old crying about something silly. That's like they flip that switch, and you can see the way the switch is flipped, and how much it works.
I completely agree. And I think for some reason, Lee Ho has completely failed in the lighter, and most of the scenes were lighter because his most of his dialogues were supposed to be quips. He's supposed to be this really calm-headed but really sort of like good-humored and smart protagonist.
I have to say though that I do think that he's like written a little bit poorly as well, more poorly than usual in Kim and Suk's male characters, heroes. Like, he doesn't quite seem to have enough to do. Like, what's his point? Whereas everyone else seems to have this dark backstory and this mission, and his is...
He's been burdened with a glorious purpose, is what has happened.
Like, it's hard to sort of get a grasp on exactly what that purpose is. Like, I can't fault him entirely for it. I do think the character is written with a certain amount of poverty that's not... It's not all on him.
I agree. I see what you mean. Because he doesn't have an arc in this story.
Right. He's kind of aimless.
Yeah, he's following the directions. It's kind of like there are these set milestones that he has to go through to get to his goal, and he's just going through the milestones. There is no developmental arc for him. Like, him coming to Republic of Korea has changed nothing in his character. Has not changed anything in his behavior, his approach to... It's not like he used to be a distant monarch and now he's warmer to his people. There is no change in it. What Egon was in the first episode is what Egon remains. I will not say till when.
We have one episode, like, by episode I mean a scene of his life, one episode of his life in backstory. We don't have anything else.
Right.
Like, he's a bit of a cipher, actually. Everything is happening to him and around him, but he's not as much of an agent in the story as, like, Kim Kyung-nam is Shinji, he's getting a hero's arc, and he's killing it. He's absolutely
really
killing it.
Good arc.
Yeah, it's so compelling.
Side characters are all getting excellent arcs, and I really, because I have watched the last episode, I really enjoyed how most of their stories ended up. And there are some characters whose endings were inexplicable, but we won't go into that because we are really trying not to spoil anything here.
For me. I've reached that point where I'm too scared to carry on watching.
Can I just say that you don't have to be scared to... This is going to be an enjoyable watch for you for now.
For now, she says. Now I'm more scared. I do want to add, we're talking about a lack of development and stuff, and I don't know what's wrong with this show. I mean, I do know what's wrong, but I don't know why it's wrong. That that Kiwensik is her great forte, her great strength in everything she writes is building these quite epic romances, whereas I don't know where it all went here. Like one day, or 5 episodes, 6 episodes, they're fighting tooth and claw, or at least Kim Go-eun is. Understandably, that all makes sense. But then the next day, by the next episode, it's Sarange. And I mean, I didn't sleep for hours last night when I should have, because I was reading 300 comments of interpretations. It's actually interesting how much difference it makes when you sort of take in all the different opinions and well thought out commentaries, because I hadn't thought of a lot of things the way that some people had described it. So on the one hand, they're saying, it's a relationship that both of them know has no future, and therefore why hurt yourself by investing in it. But then there's this moment where she makes a choice. You know what? I'm going to, because time is finite, life is short. Yeah. And that's why she sort of delivers this quite abrupt Sarange. And actually, I really like that interpretation, but I thought about it again half an hour ago, and was no. I mean, you can look at it that way, and I've looked at other shows that way, where I read my interpretation into it, and it enriches my watching of the show. But in this one, Kim Eun-suk does romance so much better. And it she hasn't done any of the work of the romance here, but we're meant to believe it happened somewhere off screen.
Do you think that she's handling so many different plot elements with, I'd only watched first 2 episodes, but it seems like there's not only an alternate universe plot element, but there's also time travel, and then there's politics and...
Nah, I don't think she has that excuse.
Out of all of those things, the easiest thing to do is build the romance. The easiest thing. Everything else is hard. The romance is easy.
And also, honestly, she actually does a pretty good job of keeping all of the elements in balance till the very end. I don't usually say this about most dramas that we watch, because the second half lags. Second half does not lag in this drama. There's nothing wrong with the pacing of this drama. She's actually thought the moments, the milestones of each episode really well. The pacing stays consistent throughout. She doesn't drop the ball. Do you agree with all her reasonings at the end of the drama? That's a different discussion entirely. But I don't think those things distracted from the romantic pairing. The romantic pairing, I think, mostly fails because of the way she's written Egon's character. There is no attraction between these two people who have spent so little time together. However, again, I keep going back to Goblin because it's written by the same writer.
And it's Kim Go-eun as well.
And it's Kim Go-eun. And the thing is that they do the abrupt Sarange as well. Because Kim Go-eun's character, of course, is she's this kid who... Initially, she doesn't exactly reveal to Gong-hyo's character that she is the Dokebi's bride, in that she can see the sword. She's still considering her options because she's a smart girl like that. I mean, I just love the layers she had put into Kim Go-eun's character there, Ji Yoon-tak. And she did the abrupt Sarange in the beginning, but it didn't mean anything.
Yeah.
And later on, a few episodes later, Gong-hyo, after realizing that he is becoming attached to her and also realizing that she can end his life, and he goes through this depressive period where he's like, my immortal life is ending, I don't want it to end, even though this is what I've been waiting for forever. And he avoids her and he's cold to her. And throughout all of this period, he's also slightly falling for her, not in the traditional romantic sense so much as that she suddenly brightened up his world. And he comes to her and she's like, well, are you going to be cold to me? What is going on? Are you going to talk to me now? And he says, well, you know what, come and stay with me now. And she's like, well, why? Do you love me? What? And she doesn't say it in the whole plaintive, do you love me way, but she's like, what is going through your mind? And he's like, if I have to love you, I will, sarange. But again, he says it without an expression, and she's more hurt by it than anything else. It's raining outside, and whenever the dokebi is sad, it rains. The entire scene is set up to tell its own story that's not even part of the dialogue. And I am watching this, and then I watch The King, where this girl says, I love you to this guy, and gets in a car and just leaves. And he's, yeah, what? What story are they telling here?
So that's the thing. So you have moments, and like what you're talking about in Goblin is that all of those moments are an accumulation of small moments, like little things that all add up to make that big moment mean something. Whereas in The King, you have what is meant to be a big moment, but it's not supported by the small moments. Like there aren't all of the pebbles that add up to the mountain that makes it sort of mean something to you. Because that scene, like by itself, it could be a beautiful scene if it had the requisite sort of build up. And you know, it's just, we've always said that Kim Un-suk loves her moments, and she does, but she usually builds them up really well. And I feel like in this show they haven't, like, you didn't put the work in. It's not right for you to ask me as a viewer to do that work. I can, but why should I? Which is really uncharitable, because I'm really enjoying the show. I actually love it. So...
Why do you think it is that despite all the flaws of the show that we can see, both you and I mean, okay, hold on, I should put a caveat in here. I almost dropped the show at several points. In the first couple, I think around the 6th or 7th episode, I was getting a bit peeved by just general complaints, and I kind of almost dropped it. But then I didn't. I don't know. I think, you started watching it. So you were talking about how much you were enjoying it. So I started rewatching it again. I was watching it again.
Peer pressure.
And then around episode, episode 11 happened, and I really enjoyed it. Then episode 12 happened, and I was like, okay, I have lost interest at this point. I don't think I want to pick it up. But then my cousin started watching it, and she was constantly asking me questions that I had no way of answering. So I watched the rest of them. I enjoyed the overall drama as a single viewing, as a one watch. I enjoyed it, but I needed pushes at different points for me to keep going. I didn't have the pull towards the drama. So here is a flawed drama that I admit that I enjoyed watching. If somebody pushed me into watching it, I enjoyed the overall thing. So why do you think it is? We have so many complaints about this drama. There are so many flaws, but we still enjoyed it.
I think our complaints are very specific, because like you and I both love the sci-fi dramas, and there's something about K-drama sci-fi which is just, it beats any other kind of sci-fi, because they have this really deep sort of emotionality to them which adds so much to the sci-fi conceit. And so what you have here is, like, for example, you remember when we were watching Circle and how much I loved that. I loved it sort of to death and beyond. And W, like how much we loved that. And then we were betrayed by the ending. Sorry for anyone who hasn't watched it. It's still worth the total watch all the way through, even the ending. And, you know, Memories of the Alhambra. So all of these concepts, they are really rich as a central conceit. And the better done they are, the more rewarding it is. And it feels so far, and like what you said gives me hope as well, that it will deal... I mean, this show I would love it even without the romance. I don't need a romance in this show, because the plot is so intriguing. And it's like, that's how I feel about also 365. Which also had that kind of, that central conceit of a supernatural element. And if you make that exciting enough, and that's thrilling enough, and that's detailed enough, and the plot is wild, and the cliffhangers are like, rah, and you're guessing every moment, and you're putting things together, it becomes a really exciting, quite thrilling experience. So that's why it works for me. if everything else had also been at the same level as, even as acting, like I say, I can compensate for it in my head. So it makes it okay.
Yeah. I think it was that she does put so many interesting questions into the drama very early on. And as Rim's actions unfold and you see what he has done, and I mean, it's really interesting to wait for the answers. How is this going to be resolved? How are these lives going to be affected? Who's going to be doppelganger snatched next?
And what are the rules?
What are the rules? Yeah. As we know, with all such dramas, the rules are never completely explained, no matter how much you wait. But
Sorry.
Sorry.
I'm just going to pretend I didn't
I have to
hear
get
that.
some of my frustrations out. But some rules are
I
explained.
should go away so you can have a good little rant by yourself.
No, so I don't think I would be able to sufficiently get it out. But I think it's the questions that she puts in, and it's actually fun to wait and look at the hints. And honestly, I don't remember the last drama I speculated so much over. It's been a while. Since I think it was Memories of the Alhambra, probably in the first half. After that, I just gave up. But my cousin, once she got into it, she had like a ton of questions. So the last 3 episodes we watched together, and we had a blast. It was fun. We were speculating and we were laughing at the ridiculous moments, and it was it was fun watching. But also, I think the other thing she did really well, and it needs to be recognized, is that she set up the side characters, most of the supporting cast, really well, and she gave them fulfilling arcs to live out in the drama. So I really liked getting to know the backstory of these characters, and yeah, so that's my inspiration.
Can I add just one last thing as well? Because let's end this on a sweet note, not the sourness in the middle. I like sour things, but yeah, to end it on a sweet note. Despite everything we've said about the romance being lacking and missing out tons of development and all of that, there are also, like, so far, and I expect that there'll be more. There were, as long as you assumed all of the relationship build up had happened, and you'd be like, okay, so they're in love now. There were some really lovely sort of natural couple moments, like between Imino and Kim Go-eun, that were just they were very touching. They were simple, but you felt the emotion in them, and that's why sometimes you're like, oh, for what could have been. Oh wait, we weren't meant to end it like that. So those were really nice, and I hope there'll be more.
That's exactly it. That's exactly how I felt. I thought all the scenes and the setups were just there. And if there had been just a little more something there, it would have just transformed into these magical, memorable moments that we would have just like kept in our hearts and revisited year after year while referencing other dramas. It would have become one of our things.
Maybe she's trying to make every drama live up to. I mean, everything is in Goblin's shadow right now. Like, Mr. Sunshine. Who remembers that? I guess the people who watched it remembered it. I didn't finish it. I mean, that's kind of my point, which is the long shadow of Goblin may touch every drama she writes, and maybe she just needs to forget about Goblin. Just forget about Goblin and start writing new shows.
Yeah.
Before we leave this particular drama and go on to others, I just want to add that while domestic ratings weren't great for The King, we know that it got a lot of international viewership thanks to Netflix. So she may not have outdone Goblin, but she has definitely reached new viewership thanks to the way The King was marketed and pushed. Yeah.
Not undeservedly, to be honest.
Yeah, true.
It was, brilliantly made, and every second of it looked fantastic. If you didn't know that you had something to compare it to, you'd be like, wow.
Yeah.
But we probably should move on now. Sorry, Anissa.
No, it's fine.
All right. Anissa, so you were watching once again, right? You picked it up after a lot of internet chatter on it.
Yeah. Like, so I saw that it was starring Lee Sang-yeob and Lee Min-jung, and I was intrigued by that pairing. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah. Even though it was like a 100-episode weekender, but also like those were half-hour episodes, so it's more like a regular 50-episode weekend drama. And then a lot of people were like, oh, this is really good. It's like the answer to, like, Father is Strange. And I was like, ooh, I love Father is Strange. And also the premise is basically, it's dealing with divorce. So it's this family where basically 3 of the kids are either divorced or annulled.
On the verge of?
Well, 3 of them have like split up from their marital partners, and one of them is in the process of getting divorced in the first episode. So I was like, oh, this might be like an interesting exploration of something that we don't usually see in family dramas. So I thought, this looks interesting. It's a great cast. It also has Noona playing Jung's older sister. And Jung is kind of the very blunt, outspoken, isn't out here to make friends, just do her job kind of person, which kind of was like, is this going to be like Iuri from, Father Strange, who was so great. I loved her. But I just found it to be, I think the depiction of the first couple of episodes of their Lee Sung-yup and Lee Min-jung's marriage, how it's basically like deteriorated to a really tragic point, was actually quite moving, and their process towards deciding that they're going to get divorced was really well done. But everything after that has just been kind of not very well written, and very everything has been really dragged out. I feel like they say the most obvious possible dialogue that you could think of in every situation. Everything is completely predictable. The only thing that I was really engaged with by the time, and I did watch I watched 26 episodes, which is 13 hour-long things, and I just felt like the story wasn't going anywhere unpredictable, and it was also going there at a very slow pace. And I just didn't. There was the youngest couple, so the youngest sister, her wedding gets annulled the day she gets married because she realizes that her husband is cheating on her.
Ouch.
And it's pretty tragic. Her relationship with her sister's brother-in-law, so basically Lee Min-jung's brother-in-law, they have a really cute relationship, and I think that's probably going to end up being a romance, which is going to be a mess because their siblings just got divorced from each other. Their relationship is actually really cute, and the 2 of them are adorable, but I was like, I'm not sitting through this whole thing. And the other thing that I kind of was bothered by was the family has a chicken restaurant in a small alley, and all the merchants have this very close relationship. They've all been running their businesses for a long time on that street, and they have a merchants association, and the dad is the president of that association. He's kind of the respected elder of the street, and everybody kind of looks up to him. But it's kind of very misogynistic in the sense that there's a lot of gossip and judgment going on in this small community, which is very realistic. I agree. But it seems like the way the writer is setting it up, it's always the women who are instigating this judgment and gossip and meanness. And it's always the men who are oh, you women, you're always creating drama. You're always, for example, this new group of women comes in with a new business, but they used to run a karaoke bar. But now they want to live a not a less scandalous life, but just an easier life where they don't have to deal with drunk male customers hitting on them all the time. So they decide to open a Kimbap restaurant, which is more family oriented, and they want to kind of change their lives a little bit. Yeah. But they're they still dress in the similar clothing as when they had the bar, and everybody in the neighborhood is giving them dirty looks, and they get excluded from the merchants association until they literally force them to change the way they dress. And it's seen as them coming to a happy medium where everybody is happy. But I'm wait, you basically bullied them into changing their behavior so that you wouldn't find them too scandalous. I don't know. It was just, there's a lot of things about it. I don't want to go into this whole long thing, but I just found that there is a certain element of the husband is oh, you guys are being so petty and you should just come to an agreement. And it's all the women who are evil and judgmental, and they're all oh, divorce is the end of your life. And the mother literally takes to her bed because her children have failed her by getting divorced, and she's more concerned about her own sadness than her kids' broken hearts. And I just couldn't deal with it anymore. I was I'm done. I cannot. I thought that whole storyline with the new women who came to the neighborhood was going to be an exploration of how sometimes people can be judgmental and then they learn. But there was no learning. It was just this is the society. You have to fit yourself into this mold.
Assimilate.
Exactly. So that was a little upsetting. So then I was just no, this is I'm done. So yeah,
Okay.
so
You
I dropped
it?
it. Yeah. So that was unfortunate.
Did you start watching something else that was better?
So actually, I did. So actually, I started watching My Unfamiliar Family, and I love it. And it's actually doing all the things that I was not getting from Once Again and more. So I'm actually really, really happy with that. And it's like it's like a short drama, so it's I think supposed to be 16 or 20 episodes. I can't remember.
This is also a weekend drama?
It's like a TVN 16 episode Monday, Tuesday drama, but it's about this family with 3 kids. So basically the main premise is you have these 3 siblings played by Kim Myeri, I think, and Chu Jae-hyun, and the kid who plays Namu in You Who Forget Poetry. Can never remember his name. Sorry, Han Myeri. She's done a lot of movies. She was also in Age of Youth. She always plays that like cool Uni character, in my experience, because she's really good in this. But it's basically like a family that is not, they're kind of all estranged from each other. So Haneri plays the middle daughter, who's kind of like always on her mom's side. The oldest daughter is always on her dad's side. The youngest one is just like he's kind of trying to get his life together, so both his parents are kind of disappointed in him. But you know, Haneri is successful. She works at a publishing company. She can be a little bit argumentative with her mom, but in the end, she always like kind of does what she wants her, you know, and she kind of tries to be there for her. The eldest daughter is married, but she's estranged from her husband. And we find out during the course of the episode that like she has had a miscarriage and they've given up on having kids. And the 2 sisters had this big falling out because on the day that the younger sister went to her older sister to get comforted for the fact that she just found out that her boyfriend of 9 years has been cheating on her. She basically like told her, "I told you so. That guy was bad news and your relationship has been messed up and I've been telling you for a while." And she's like, "Can't you just listen to me and comfort me?" But then she later found out that like she was getting over her miscarriage at that time. But they and when the drama starts, they haven't talked to each other in like 5 years or whatever. And that's also the same day that Haneri finds out that like her other good friend, like they were like a group of 3 friends, her boyfriend, and Kim Ji-suk. He had known about it, so she also stops talking to him that day. And so in the first episode, she kind of decides to like rebuild those broken fences, and she takes a step toward reconciliation. At the same time as their mom has basically decided she's going to divorce the dad. And so she tells the kids, and then the dad has an accident in the mountains, and he returns to his 22-year-old self because of his head injury. And so now you have this like 22-year-old guy who's like completely in love with his wife that wants to divorce him right now in their life as, you know, an elderly couple. And they're all, so like, it just creates a really interesting dynamic. And
Wait, hold on. Does he return mentally to his 22nd year, or does he physically transform into a 22-year-old?
He has amnesia. So he only remembers everything up to 22. So he doesn't remember any of his kids. Like he only knows that his wife was expecting the eldest.
So does he recognize his wife?
He's like, "Oh, you look the same." And you're like, "Oh," but also like, she's like, "I don't want to hear it. I hate you," you know? So it's very interesting because I think it's going to force them to confront a lot of the things that they haven't said to each other and that they haven't dealt with, and have just kind of like grown apart from each other. And the reason why I like this drama so much is they are so much like a real family that at times it's actually like almost painful because it's so relatable. You know, like the conversations between parents and children and between siblings. Sometimes I was just like, "Oh, this is too real." I'm getting triggered right now. So it's really, really good. And like in contrast to Once Again, where like everybody says the most obvious thing possible and then repeats that obvious thing like 4 times to 4 other people because there's no editing apparently. In this, there's so many layers of unspoken things the way you would have in your real life with your family members. So a lot of times they're saying one thing, but like the truth is so much more hurtful. So you wouldn't actually say it, but it's kind of like hanging in the air. You know, like the dialogue is really good and the cast is amazing and they're really selling it. I mean, this is a great cast. Kim Ji-suk and Haneri have such a great relationship. Like, it's pretty obvious. I'm just going to say it, like he's been in love with her for many years and she just sees him as a friend. and now they've finally reconciled as friends, and now she's like immediately found a new love interest that's kind of a disaster, and she's telling him all about it, and you're just like, oh dude, I feel for you. But their dynamic is so great that I really am rooting for them to be endgame. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I've only seen 2 episodes, but I'm really, really loving it.
I really like this concept already, and I generally tend to enjoy family-focused dramas a lot. It's just that very few of them don't turn into melodramas. So I kind of like avoid them until I hear something really good. So when you had watched Father is Strange and you were like, Porma, watch this. I did, because I was like, okay, I have reassurance that this is not going to turn into some sad, mess.
I can't give you that reassurance about this because I've only seen like 2.1 episodes.
No, but the chemistry in the family matters a lot, because if it's natural and if it feels like there are actually relationships being built amongst real people, that's something you can watch.
Yeah.
That's something that's almost enjoyable to watch.
Like you can feel the weight of history and years of interactions with these people.
Yeah.
Which, like, kudos to them. I don't know how you accomplish that, but this is also the writer of Flower Boy Next Door. So I think that can give you a little bit of an idea of, like, sort of the underlying melancholy, but that also doesn't, like, drag the whole thing down and make it depressing, because it's also very funny. So I'm definitely going to continue watching it.
All right.
I think I'm going to start watching it.
Yay!
After I've finished, all the other things. And watched Search, which I still haven't watched.
Oh my god!
Be Melodramatic, which I still haven't watched.
Seriously. As the unstoppable trio that we are, I feel like you need to watch those 2 dramas at least.
Yeah.
Yes.
The only thing is that we have hyped it up so much. I kind of wish that Sai had watched it last year when there hadn't been the space of time when we kept telling her, watch it. It's so great. True. It's so great.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm almost afraid that she'll watch it and she'll be like, it's not that.
If it's that good, like, nothing will stop me from loving it. And if it's not, then it's...
You don't think hype ever ruins things for you? Because I think it sometimes does. Like, perfectly good dramas kind of seem tame to me because they don't live up to that.
I feel like that happened to me with Healer.
Oh, that's true. Well, I've been taking Barma's recommendations for years now. She's one of the few people whose recs I actually end up taking. After my sister, can I say, she gets really upset. She's like, you always read or watch what Borma is telling you to watch, and you never read anything I tell you to read. And I'm like, how can you say
She's
this?
introduced you to so many things. Wasn't she the one who introduced you to K-dramas?
Yeah, I told, I was like, how can you say this? You're the one person who I take the maximum number of recs from. But, like, Borma is probably the second person.
I noticed I'm not being mentioned here at all.
You haven't given me a lot. Not the way, like, he sells stuff to me. Whereas maybe you've only pushed 1 show, 2 shows? Whereas P is constantly pushing shows at me, and I'm like, yes, most of the time. And some of them don't work for me, like Bromance didn't work for me, even though you were really into it.
Bromance! I rewatched it! I don't know why I went around recommending it. It's awful! Why did I like it so much?
I do have to say, although I enjoyed that to a ridiculous degree, I don't know that I would ever recommend it to someone because, like, it's one of those, like, cracky, hilarious, but, yeah, somewhat shameful. But I enjoyed myself so much when I was watching that.
And does not hold up to the
I stuck with it for, like, 4 episodes because I was like, okay, the good part is coming, right? And at one point I was just like, I don't think a good part is coming. I think the whole show is like this, and it's obviously this one is a miss. And like Miss Temper and Namjoongi, that was another one you recommended, and that was that was okay. It was good to watch once, but it wasn't like amazing. I enjoyed it. I think that was one that Eunice took as well. And then you had then you have the Find Yourselves.
Which one was the Namjoongi?
Miss Temper and Namjoongi, the that one.
Yeah.
I think I had a similar reaction. Like, it was fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was just a drama.
I feel like I am being reviewed right now. All the recommendations Parma gives.
Yeah, but then you also recommended Find Yourself, which was, I wrote a literal thesis on it. So.
Go read it on our blog, guys. dramasoverflowers.net.
I can't believe it's an actual thesis with chapters. And I'm like, If you had left me alone, I would have written another 10,000 words.
I think also I find that I don't recommend shows to people unless I'm like really extremely, extremely excited about them. And I feel like most of the shows that I'm extremely, extremely excited about, you've already watched. So then I don't have a chance to recommend those to you.
Although I've still got Tree with Deep Roots on my list, which I've had it for a long time, but like your recommendation pushes it up to the, as close to the top of the list as it can get.
Yeah.
But below mine.
There's just too many on the list. The problem is the list is too long. I think that's all of our
This is why you cannot waste your life watching mediocre dramas. Time is finite, watch what's good.
Yeah, even like you asked me, are you going to try to rewatch Forest of Secrets? I'm like, who has time to rewatch anything? Yeah.
Oh, see, that's another show that everyone loved, and I was like, yeah, maybe. But I didn't. I sort of enjoyed it. I spent half of it confused and the other half intrigued. So it wasn't it wasn't the way I enjoyed, for example, Watcher. So I feel like I need to watch it again just so I can just sort of see if having a couple of years makes me better at understanding.
Yeah, I do understand what you mean with that one, is because like I feel like recapping really enriched the experience because it's so complex and dense and subtle and interesting that like the writing is so good that it's almost like not enough to watch at one time. Which, or like maybe different people have a different amount of times they need to watch it, because obviously like everybody processes information differently, right? So, but I definitely did enjoy, like with some shows you finish the recap and you're like, I spent way too much time on that very simple storyline, like you have nothing to say. But I always had so much to say that I had to like choose what I was going to say that week, because it was so rich and there was so much to discuss. So I get that.
And usually I really love these obscure detailed shows, the ones that are full of like these dense, rich, complex
that's
shows.
why I was surprised that you were.
That's why I was
about
surprised, because I was like, I don't get it. So I'm gonna give it another shot because I feel like maybe I watched it wrong, so I'll watch it right this time. I'm in a post-watcher world.
Yeah, but also like it's not homework, Saya. It's okay.
It's not, but because I'm definitely watching season 2.
Yeah, me too.
And I always like to rewatch the thing that came before. Like, for example, we're not going to talk about Dark now, but I'm going to rewatch 2 seasons of Dark so I can enjoy the final season.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, there's a new season coming out, right? Keep seeing trailers.
Yeah, in like
a few minutes.
2 weeks. It's coming out in 2 weeks. But they're easy to rewatch because they're like 10 episodes each season. Anyway, we're not talking about that.
No, we talk about current watch list. What are you watching now, Saya?
So, I've taken a little bit of an unexpected departure from my usual fare. And the only way I watch shows like this is just on impulse. So on impulse, I started watching Kkondae Intern, which has also gone by the title Old School Intern, the Park Hye-jin show. I just realized Park Hye-jin is like blacklisted in K-drama fandom at the moment because of that other show Forest, which I didn't watch, but I heard was a bit of a forest fire.
Oh no!
It was.
Oh, did you watch it, P?
I watched the first 2 episodes and I had a headache throughout. And the thing is that the girl, wait, hold on, let me just pull up her, because I don't have anything like very smart to say about her, but let me see if I can think of something pithy. I think she deserves it.
I'm so curious where this is going.
Okay.
Deserves in a good way or a bad way?
We'll find out.
So, Joboa.
Oh, okay.
Joboa, we liked her in My Strange Night. We didn't love her. I think Saya kind of liked her.
I did kind of love her.
Yeah, but we were okay with Joboa and My Strange Hero, right? She is intolerable in Forest. They created such a horrible character for her. She is one of those shrill, unreasonable heroines who dislikes the hero for no very good reason, and the hero is unreasonably rude to her for no good reason, and then suddenly from that they spring into a romance and you want to just slap everybody in the screen. It's just...
I'm just so entertained by the strength of your reaction.
I mean, I think you said it all right there.
And this was fresh off a piece of your mind, my mind, somebody's mind. And I had a very strong reaction to that, but I watched Forest and I was like, I will never say another bad word about a piece ever, because that thing had some idea of where it was going. What is this nonsense?
I heard a lot of jokes about being lost in the forest. And they were like despairing jokes, the way you would be if you lost your child in the forest. So, you know. But also, since you mentioned her, that reminds me of the reaction that people had to her character in Temperature of Love. She was a horrible character in that.
At all.
Oh, don't you? She was a real piece of work, but also she wasn't rewarded for it, which I mean, that's a discussion for another day. Let's not go there. Yeah, she was, but she was really like mean and catty and selfish.
She was the jealous one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like who was competing with the
Seonjin.
What's her name?
I can't remember her character's name.
Hyunsu.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, I had completely forgotten that she was the one who had played that character. Yeah, she was not a pleasant character. Yeah, so you were saying about the fandom's reaction to her in that drama.
I think we were originally talking about Park Hye-jin. So the reason that everyone is really meh about him having a new drama is Forest, which I didn't watch, so I'm like thankfully cushioned from.
Yeah.
But like I'm not particularly interested in the cast, but I was quite drawn to the premise, which was in last month's What's Up in Dramaland.
Yeah.
So he starts off in the show as an intern under this horrible boss who's this, the Kkondae, which Anissa did a really great job describing, so I won't go over that again. And then like fast forward 5 years and he's the head of a team, and then his old horrible boss comes as a senior in terms of age, as an intern for his team. And that's just like, that's such a, I mean, maybe it appeals to me because of the premise of possibly revenge and most hopefully justice. And, I like revenge. No real life reasons for that, obviously.
Is that sarcasm?
There really aren't.
That sounded extremely sarcastic.
I know, right? I really don't have any real life reasons. I don't know why I sounded so shifty there. But yeah, I like a good revenge mellow. So this is more like a revengey. It's not quite revengey comedy. It's more like it builds itself as a comedy, but it's less comedic and a little bit more like it's quite heartfelt, and like as a human study, it's really interesting because you have like Park Hye-jin's character is really fun because of what happened to him as an intern. He, like, it's clear from the way he behaves towards his team now that he's committed to not being like his old boss. So he treats his team really well. But then you have these moments where he goes and he has a wobbly and he's like, oh my god, why did I just do that? So it's one part curated image, so he really cares about how people see him. And that adds it does add like a layer of comedy to the times when he kind of fails, especially when the senior intern, I'm so sorry I can't remember the actor's name, but the character's name is Imanchik. So senior intern, he kind of rocks the boat of, what's his name, Gayol-chan, I think is the character's name, Park Hye-jin's life, and he's been living a stable good guy life, and he's never had that image of himself challenged. Whereas having this cranky senior intern, not only does it sort of bring back his trauma, but it also it does like make a real like it tests his commitment to being fair and kind to his team, because he gets petty about it, and which is what you're here for. You're like totally there for that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's also offset by him genuinely not wanting to be like that. So there's like these like multiple layers at work in his character. There's the him that is like genuinely a good person, like below the surface he is not a bad person. Like he's not driven by pettiness and things. He's actually driven by, like, his impulses are always good. I mean, on a general level. Like there are a bunch of times where he does things that are like in the moment, like he saves one of his interns from a preying ex boyfriend, and afterwards he's like, "Why did I do that? Why did I have to be so cool for? Why couldn't I just walk on by?" So he's got that instinct, but at the same time he's got that part of him where he's definitely working on his image. He does it to look good, and it's not the same things, they're different things, but they're different aspects of his character. And then there's the part of him that is, that wants to sort of get payback, and so it's really interesting just to sort of, you can't quite figure out what he's going to do, and that makes him an interesting character because you don't know which way he's going to fall on each thing that happens. And at the same time you also got senior intern. I should look up his name.
It's Kim Eung-soo.
In the drama, he's Iman Sik.
Thank you. Thank you, my encyclopedias. So Iman Sik has this, because you start off seeing him as a horrible person and completely unjustified in the way he treats people, and just, quite cruel, and, like, let bad things happen to him because he deserves it. That's how you feel about him. But then that perception you have of him is challenged as well, because you're presented with the sides of him that actually prove he does have a conscience. And like Park Hae-jin confronts those aspects of him as well, because of course now he's his intern, they have a lot of interaction that brings them into moments in each other's lives. So I'm guessing that it's going to eventually sort of end up a kind of an unwilling alliance, and then eventually some kind of grudging romance. So it's a nice easy watch that you don't have to sort of be fully present for, but you can still enjoy. But it's also, it's not complete fluff. And it might be triggering to people who have workplace problems, because I have a friend who has really horrible office life, and it makes me think of her. So if you want to get away from that kind of thing, you probably shouldn't watch it. But if you want to get away from other stressful real life things, it might not be so bad.
And watch some petty revenge. Yeah, this one's actually high on my list exactly because of these two. And what I anticipate would be pretty fun to watch.
There's one more thing about it which is really funny, is that they keep having these little parodies of other dramas.
Like those romantic moment clips that I'm watching. Like, I saw this one on Instagram where Yeol-chan kind of like holds Manshik by his hand and kind of like draws him away protectively. And
that actually wasn't a parody moment, but it was like, that was a kind of a parody trope moment, right? And he actually takes his hand, it's not even like his wrist, he's like, it's his hand. And that was one of the moments after which he goes, "Oh, why did I do that? Why couldn't I just walk on by?"
This actually sounds pretty great, I have to say.
I'm really enjoying it. A friend of mine told me that it was deathly dull in the first, like, she watched 2 episodes and she was like, so boring, and I nearly dropped it then because I'm impressionable. And I was like, but I didn't find it boring, I enjoyed it. And then I carried on watching it.
Resist the peer pressure.
Sometimes you just have to be like, you know what, I am enjoying it. I'm not gonna let other people's opinions get to me, even if I am as impressionable as a piece of clay. Wet clay.
Wet clay. I love how you clarified that.
I have to admit that the casting does matter to me, and Kkondae Intern got on my radar because of Park Hae-jin. I really like this actor. I don't think he gets good roles, and I this one, from the moment we watched the trailer and with your review right now, this one actually sounds like exactly the role that he was waiting for. I'm really hoping he gets better roles going forward.
And this is the kind of show you two watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird. This is a weird reverse for me. I'm the one watching the workplace comedy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you guys to watch it.
Alright, so what's next?
I think it's one of Farmers now.
Okay.
What are you watching?
I'm actually doing a lot of rewatches right now and watching some old stuff. But before that, I'll just get through 2 dramas that Okay, so good casting and When My Love Blooms. When My Love Blooms is nice. Certainly when it flashes back to the younger versions of this older estranged couple. Well, they're not an estranged couple. They were like They have not spoken to each other for years. So,
were they actually ever a couple, or were they like a sort of a love that never was?
no, so that definitely had a romance when they were in college, and they tried to have a relationship. Then certain things happen, they make difficult choices, situations get between them. So their prospects had probably promised something, but the reality took them in very different ideological directions. So it's kind of interesting to see who they were in college and who they ended up becoming later part of their life, but how strong the connection still is between them despite the decade or two that have passed. But the problem is that as much as I was enjoying the flashback to the younger college days, and honestly, at least I haven't watched more than, I think I watched the first 4 episodes. The drama shows pieces of current day and then mostly spends rest of the airtime flashing back to the younger college days. So it feels more like it's the show is the current day is the college period, and then you sometimes go into the future and this is what happened to them instead of the format being the reverse.
That's weird.
Because they're showing so much of the college days. So there's very little story movement in the current times. And also, when you do come to the current times, I'm not seeing sufficient chemistry between the leads. So while you have like the older versions are played by Iboyoung and Yujite, and I'm not seeing the same chemistry that I'm seeing in Jeonsuni and Park Ji-young, which is the college-aged versions of them. And of course, sometimes you watch a drama and you're like, my God, they did such an amazing job with the casting. I keep feeling like they did a terrible job with casting the younger versions of this older couple. Their characters are so vastly different. Like the way they present themselves, the way they speak, they do not feel like the same people at all, which creates this discordance when you're watching, because it doesn't feel like I'm watching the younger versions of these characters. It just feels like I'm watching 2 different dramas, 2 different sets of people without much connection to each other.
That sounds really jarring.
It's hard also when the younger couple is like in college already, so you've already got your adult face.
Exactly. How are they so?
Yeah, and like when the older version is like only in their 40s, right? So like that's not.
Yeah.
You don't change that much between, especially if you're casting like gorgeous people who don't look their age. You could just have them do the college part. No.
Oh wait, it's Park Jin-young who's playing the. I really like him, psychometric guy.
He's actually doing a very good job of being this rebellious, college student leader type character. I quite liked his gruff persona. Yeah, I enjoyed his performance. I also really liked Jeonsuni. Like the college characters are actually far more interesting because the problems that they are facing as a young couple who has to worry about their future, who has to worry about their responsibilities, and they can't just be selfish in their decisions, feels far more real to me than the elder couple's problems. Because in the future or in the current day, their versions are facing very stereotypical problems where the woman is poor and she has evil ex and who's threatening to take away her child, and you have the guy Yujite, he's married to this evil woman, and his evil father-in-law is trying to has once framed him and made him like serve jail sentence already, and is trying to take his position away from him. And I mean, there's just the evil people are so black and white evil in the current times. I find that the more I watch dramas, the less patience I have with these stereotypically evil characters. If that's your obstacle, it's not much of an obstacle. We know that these people are evil, they'll be defeated, you're gonna be happy together, whatever. And unless there is a relationship, I don't think I can explain this very well. I'm not feeling the chemistry between the grown-ups. Again, I haven't been able to get beyond episode 4. Maybe it develops afterwards. But just, I wasn't feeling it at all. So I kind of gave up on it right there. So I'm also watching Good Casting, which I started watching because of Choi Kang-hee from, what was it? The Sherlock...
Mystery Queen.
Mystery Queen, right. Mystery Queen. I really liked her in Mystery Queen. And I think they could have done so much more with the character there. But I just really liked her. So when she was coming back with this drama and she's a spy, yeah, of course I'm going to be watching. So I was, but and it doesn't really disappoint. Like if you're in there for Choi Kang-hee, they really make this a Choi Kang-hee drama. Like, she is properly heroic. Like, she's really efficient. She's this hot-tempered spy who, will like throw her badge at your face and go all rogue. Wait, I think that's like a Dirty Cops reference or something. No, Dirty Harry, not Dirty Cops. What am I saying?
I wouldn't know either way.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the rogue, spy thing. But the issue here is that Good Casting is established as these 3 female spies going into the corporate world and doing this, whatever stuff they're supposed to be doing. And so when you have these 3 women working as a team, you would expect there to be a certain level of bonding, a dynamic chemistry between them. And again, none of that. Maybe I've been spoiled with search www, be melodramatic, or even because this is my first life, where when you have 3 female characters, they spend time establishing their relationship. Here you have a kind of like a colleagues relationship between Kim Ji-young and Choi Kang-hee. So Kim Ji-young is a senior spy who's kind of retired and became a insurance salesperson. And then when the government needed her, they were like, well, you took out a loan from us. Do you want us to, sort of collect it back from you? Are you going to come back and work as a spy? And she's like, fine, I'll be your spy. And then, again, they blackmail a newbie tech support girl into also getting into the field. She has a baby, a 3-year-old, extremely cute baby. And they're like, well, you're living in an apartment that we have given you. Do you want to be a spy, or should we just take the apartment away from you? And she's like, where will I live with my baby? Fine, I'll be your spy. So you already have this situation where the office that you're working for is treating you like trash and forcing you to risk your life or sort of lose your home and income. So, and then you have Choi Kang-hee's character who's just dying to get back onto the field. Something had happened in the past and she was kind of barred from going back into the field. So she kind of took it upon herself to solve some other case where she got herself incarcerated and she spent 3 months in jail and just to get information out of someone. And I guess it's a very cool opening introduction to her character. Tells you a lot about how invested she is in the cases she takes on. And that's great. But how do I put this? Like, her investment in the case is so high, whereas the other two, for most parts, are just doing their job. There is a real mismatch in the level of investment in these 3 characters into the case that they have been assigned. And the case, by the way, is to find this mysterious character called Michael who keeps escaping them, and apparently other spies have gotten killed while chasing them and nobody wants to take the case anymore. I'm exhausted just trying to explain the plot. The action scenes are really good. I think what I enjoy the most is, again, Choi Kang-hee's character. So they send these 3 spies into the field. Choi Kang-hee's character has to go be secretary to this newbie CEO whose position is constantly being challenged by his rivals in the company. And the CEO is played by Lee Sang-yeop, who, by the way, I had completely forgotten that we last saw him in While You Were Sleeping, and he was this really slimy prosecutor turned attorney character, and he was so good at being slimy. And he's this really kind-hearted, sweet, innocent.
He does that. He does either murderers or puppies. He doesn't have anything in between.
I've only seen him in the puppy role, so I'm intrigued.
But you've seen Signal.
I haven't.
He's
Eunice
in
has.
Signal?
Yeah, he's the literal puppy killer in Signal.
Oh, good.
I totally forgot about that.
That's the actor he is. He is either a puppy or he's a killer. That's his entire filmography.
So the thing is that he kept reminding me of Kim Young-kwang from Secret Life of My Secretary. His entire CEO character was exactly like Dominic, and I actually thought for a few minutes that it was the same actor until I was like, wait, no, he looks different. It can't be the same actor. No, they're just doing a bit.
What a way to tell someone apart by their looks.
We're really breaking new ground here.
I know. I mean, who would have thought? Look at their face to tell them apart. So, no, but you would know what I'm talking about when you see them. The way he's shy and sweet, and then abruptly gives an order, and then immediately is sweet again. That entire thing was so Dominic. I never realized that was like a character trope.
It is now.
Anyway, yeah. Okay, so Choi Kang-hee basically takes a role as his secretary, and she's trying to figure out what shenanigans is going, how the company is connected to the evil Michael. And the problem here is that Lee Sang-yeob's character is when he sees her, like he chooses her out of like pile of applications because she reminds him of his tutor when he was like 18 or something. He had a 20-something-year-old tutor who, by the way, was exactly Choi Kang-hee. It was Choi Kang-hee.
Of course,
it's just,
of course.
And he had fallen in love with her, and she had treated him like this, puppy who's to be, kind of ignored, but also like placated and stuff, but not really encouraged. But then she kind of disappeared from his life, and he is portrayed as so loyal that he's still in love with her. He's kind of like, so when he sees her again, now here she's pretending to be someone who's 10 years younger than she actually is. But here's the thing, her real name is Baek Chan-mi, and she comes to the company as Baek Jung-mi.
Oh God.
And this guy, in their first interview together, he's like, are you sure you're 27 years old? And she's like, yeah, absolutely, I'm 27 years old. He's like, are you sure your name is Baek Jung-mi and not Chan-mi? And she's like, no, my name is Baek Jung-mi. And he's convinced that it's a different person. I mean, she looks exactly the same. How is...
Drama logic.
Mm-hmm.
And here are the weird things that happens. Like, when he was a kid, he had a tear in his jacket, and she had like sewn it up for him. And within like a 5-second period, somehow she had created this entire flower design and handed it back, and he had been really embarrassed about it. Baek Jung-mi in the current period does exactly the same thing.
Of course she does.
And he still suspects nothing.
Well, at some you have to take people at face value when they have different, biographical facts. You just like, what are you going to do? Insist that they're someone they say they're not? In a way, it makes sense.
I kind of wish that they had centered. I kind of wanted to. I started this drama thinking that they were going to center this sort of like romantic dynamic a bit more. Because clearly the trio's dynamic is not being centered. They are actually focusing a lot on the overarching mystery, and I don't think it works very well because you don't know who the villain is. So everybody is sort of, you look everybody suspiciously. There is this particular evil authority character that you kind of want to suspect that he's the villain. But yeah, aside from that, Anyway, so episode 10, and I am probably going to watch a little more, mostly because of Choi Kang-hee. But yeah, I kind of wish that they had focused more on the romance.
Well, you're nearly at the end.
They've already aired up to 14 now, so that's where I'm at. Not sure if I'm enjoying it, but really like Isang Yo
To make it
being
to 12
cute
episodes and not be sure that you're enjoying it, that's something only you can
the
do.
action is actually really good. There are these moments when they plan heists and stuff, and that is actually executed really well. And whenever you have these actual action scenes, it's done really well. My issue is that there is no interpersonal connection between the main trio, and most of the romantic development happens in epilogues at the end of the drama.
Oh dear.
So
it's like kind of a comedy procedural type of thing.
yeah, actually, that's a very accurate way of talking about it. Do we have anything else? I just want to talk about.
So before we wrap up, we're just going to take one last sort of leap out of K-Drama Land and back into C-Drama Land, thanks to a recommendation we got from a reader. Can you tell us about that, P?
Yeah, I think it was Joanne who emailed us and told us about the Untamed. So it's a C-drama that was really popular a while back, and a lot of people are just catching up to how popular it was and watching it right now. So it's the fan hype has not gone down. But here's so anyway, so I was kind of looking at it as side-eyeing it, because I occasionally do go into these wuxia, dramas, kind of hoping for the best, and then usually being a bit disappointed because they tend to go all over the place a lot. But yeah, so Joanne was really enthusiastic about it. And she talked about how much she had to say about the drama after it ended. And that is something that I always think speaks highly of storytelling. Like, if you have a lot to say about it. So usually I side-eye these wuxia dramas, sometimes like venturing into watching them. But my experience of wuxia is that it goes all over the place a lot, and there are certain settled tropes that they don't want to break. They keep rehashing the same plot over and over again in different dramas. So I very rarely go into them. So Nirvana in Fire was a brilliant one that I had watched a while, like my first wuxia, I think. The second one was Eternal Love, which was amazing. And every other drama that I've watched, I've kind of fallen short. And when I say Eternal Love, I don't mean the other one. I mean I think 100 Miles of Peach Blossom,
yeah,
that one. Mm. Yeah, the 3 Lives, 3 Fates, something. So anyway, so the thing is that I heard such good things about The Tamed. So yeah, I finally started watching it. And I kept hearing that the first couple of episodes is when people left the drama, but I actually found it really interesting. However, I don't know if it was a mistake, but because I knew that there was a source material and that the source material had treated the characters slightly different. And by that, I don't just mean that the source material had a boy love romance.
Yeah, that's what I heard as well.
Yeah, it's not just that. That the romance was stronger, whereas where Untamed, the show, it's more romance. Yeah. Which is, I understand why that is so, and skipping over that whole thing.
Does that affect your enjoyment of the show, though?
Again, I haven't watched enough of the show for it to influence it one way or the other. So what happened was that around the 4th episode mark, no, I'm sorry, not the 4th, 6th or 7th episode mark, I found that the show's pace was a bit slow. And I got really impatient, so I started reading the book. And it's not like the book is going faster. Of course, there's just so much more story. So it's technically going slower. But the difference between the show and the book is, of course, the book is entirely from the perspective of our anti-hero, which is Wei Wuxian. And he's this wise but petty character. He's both, like, he hits all of these, so in the show, he's just this like slightly immature but intelligent boy. He's cast as this naughty, young, rebellious character. But in the drama, in the book, he's a character who's given into the dark side of demonic cult magic and develops certain certain types of what do you call it? Those magic stuff. Stuff.
I'm sorry, I'm not helping you.
No, it were like objects, certain magic objects
like
with
artifacts
immense
type of
power and
things,
all.
yeah.
Artifacts. So like and a lot of people in different cultures really want those artifacts, and they find him threatening. So he was practically murdered like 13 years back. Then he was resurrected into the body of this other person for certain reasons, and so he's brought back. He was never completely dead, but somewhat dead, I suppose. Anyway, so he's resurrected and nobody knows that he's back. And so he's in the body of the person who had summoned him, who's actually kind of dead. But it's just confusing.
This is very confusing.
The point is that, it is so great because you have this character who's already lived the life of a villain, quote unquote villain. He was killed off in this great battle by somebody whom he considers both his greatest rival and, at least in the book, the potential love interest. And then you have him, well, he wasn't technically killed off by him, but anyway, not the point. Then 13 years later, he comes back and now he's like, well, I've lived the life of the great, bad, powerful person. And now he's just like, why have I been brought back? I was fine being dead. What is this nonsense? I really like his book voice. So the thing is that when you're summoned into the body of the summoner, it's usually because they are bringing the spirit of some evil ghost into their body to get revenge on someone. If you don't get the revenge as the summoner had wanted, then there are slashes in your body that just keeps getting worse, and then you burst and, I don't know, double die or something. I don't know what happens. But something bad. So he's forced to get revenge for the summoner. Sorry.
So are there two spirits in that body at the same time, or does he just fully inhabit that body?
No, the summoner's spirit is apparently gone.
But then what's the point?
He's dead. No, so he's so vengeful towards this particular group of people. He's like, I will die. I'll just sacrifice my own, body and summon this evil spirit who can come and get my revenge for me because I couldn't.
How can you guarantee that
because
spirit
that's
will
the magic. That? That's the magic.
Oh, as in they have to, otherwise. Oh, actually, that's quite interesting.
So the first opening chapters are actually really interesting because now he's forced to, and he has to hide his own true identity. And unfortunately, some other group of people come in who might be able to tell who he is. So he has to pretend that he's this duller version. So he has to be really cunning about influencing events without making it appear as if he's influencing events. Because he's this powerful sort of demonic cult god person, I don't know, in the body of someone who's not that great.
This is what I mean about you selling me a drama and making me watch it. I hate you. Stop. Stop right now.
It's actually the book that I'm selling you more than the drama, because the drama, as interesting as it is, I don't think they haven't really tapped into this part of it yet. This ridiculousness of trapping this godlike figure into the body of this mere mortal, and he has to hide his identity, and he has to be this wise and cunning person, but behind the scenes all the time. And this one thing translates really well to the show, where he has this relationship with this really stubborn donkey.
That was not what I thought was going to follow the word relationship.
Well, you know what I mean, like he just steals this donkey to travel. But the donkey is like, the donkey will only have like the greenest grass and refuses to have anything else, and he has to pander to the donkey's whims to get him to walk further.
I actually really like the sound of that.
All of this without even going into his very complicated relationship with Lan Wangji, though that's not the correct title. He has several titles. I'll just stick with Wangji. So Wushan is the quote-unquote darker character who, if you give him, if you ask him a philosophical question, he'll always come up with the most scandalous answer, which the show actually taps really well. And whereas Wang Ji is the straight arrow. He will always do what is correct and what his cult has taught him, and he's always mannerly and kind and all of that stuff. So you have these two characters having like ethical dilemmas while they're dealing with problems because their approaches are different, but they also trust and support each other. So I really like the way the relationship is developing. But my problem here is the book, for now, seems way more interesting than the drama. So what I'm doing right now is I've kind of paused the drama at episode 7, and I've kind of just decided to finish the book first. I get the feeling that I'm going to enjoy the drama more once I've finished it, and the drama is just because I'll be able to fill in the bits of the story that the drama has to cut out for just, time and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no value judgment on which medium you prefer, right? It's like, as long as you get enjoyment out of it, that's the aim, right?
Yeah, true. I am really enjoying this story. So let's see where it takes
I have
me.
a recommendation to make now, which I've actually been recommending you for quite some time. But I think that you're in the place where you can do this now. So quite a while back, I think they've actually done, because you said you're rewatching Queen in Hyunsman now.
Yeah.
And there's actually a second Chinese remake of this that's quite recent, but I haven't watched that one. But the first one, it's called Love Through a Millennium. I think you'd really like that. Or have you already watched it?
I watched a third of it. I really didn't like
No, keep going, because the reason I'm saying that is there's this character.
Yeah.
Okay, which part didn't you like? It depends what you didn't like.
It's mostly the initial parts, because I thought that the best thing about Queen in Huntsman was how quick-paced it was. Everything moved really fast. And now that I'm rewatching it, I realize much of the pacing was done by this really clever mechanism of using
Split screens, yeah.
So you're watching several characters moving at once. So everything feels so much faster than it probably was.
There's also back in the day when TVN did 45-minute episodes. They had this short period where they did 45-minute episodes, which I imagine as you watched it would have been an hour because of ads. But they were very tight episodes back then. And you're right, like the Chinese one, I think each episode is like more than an hour.
It takes very long to unfold, and also the characters are very different.
I thought you'd enjoy the difference because there's this character that isn't in the original. Who is
the rival brother?
Yeah, exactly.
Character,
and he's such a good character. Yeah. And for that reason, I thought you would enjoy it. But if you've already tried a third and you didn't, then
you know what? I should probably go into this without comparing it with Queen in Huntsman. Sorry, without thinking of it as a remake.
That's true.
I might be able to enjoy it more that way, because last time I did go into it kind of hoping for I don't know what, just like as if I wanted to rewatch the thing but with other actors.
It is. The thing is, it's very much its own drama. It really is. I mean, you recognize plot points, but it's its own drama. We've had a really exciting month on Patreon. I think this is the most patrons we've had in a month, and you can bet that there was a high-pitched squeeing from 3 corners of the world simultaneously. And most exciting of all is literally as we were recording, we discovered we had a new patron. So this is you will get your shout-outs. As always, we are so privileged by your attention and your commitment to us, and the fact that you listen to us and care enough to support us this way. So this month we are welcoming to our Patreon family Katie, Mindy, Liliana, and Edyth. Thank you guys. We're sending you finger hearts and we love you.
Yes!
Welcome, guys!
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
It's so lovely that you were willing to help us out in this way, and we hope that the podcast continues to give you joy.
And you certainly give us joy.
Yes.
And also, I think just for us, it's not just the Patreon community, which is so nice. It's better than nice. It's so great when you have listeners signing up to Patreon, but also just when they email us and just talk about dramas that they're watching. In the last month, I think we had Rue and Joanne write into us Rue was talking about watching Never Have I Ever, and Joanne was talking about Untamed. And the thing is that Saya and I both watched Never Have I Ever. I started watching Untamed. It was mostly because of your emails. And we don't just appreciate your emails. It makes us feel like we have a community around us, and that you guys are not just listening but participating in the conversation. So yeah, we are all very emotional about this stuff, but yeah, thank you for writing in. Thank you for connecting with us on Twitter and just everything.
Yeah,
thank you.
And even if you like are not a fan of human engagement, you just want to like give us a star rating,
which we completely understand.
That is like 100% fine, and we will appreciate that hugely as well. So you know, like whatever your level of engagement is, like we're good. We appreciate that you communicate with us in whatever way you feel comfortable. So lots of love. That was really cheesy. I'm really tired.
So on that note, shall we say good night, guys? Yeah.
Thank you as always, everyone, for listening, and keep listening, and we'll be back next time, we hope, inshallah.
And
yeah,
don't send, well, feel free to send whatever emails you want, but don't send too many angry emails to Saya and Parma about Iminho. We promise that we will publish something positive about him soon. So
yeah, we do have something positive. Is it positive? Can we really guarantee that it'll be positive?
It will contain positive aspects.
It will. Yeah.
Yes,
it will, because there are many roles that we have loved him in. So it's not like we are not Iminho haters at all.
Also, I'm not a hate mail hater. I actually love hate mail. I've made some very good friends over a demand for hate mail once. So,
really?
Yeah,
we've never actually had hate mail for the podcast.
Yeah,
well, I mean, this is my pre K-drama days, back in the very dark mists of time when I used to write for a Wheel of Time fan site. This is my very dark, very nerdy days before I realized I was brown. Obviously, I thought I was a white boy then. So I used to write a column on this fan site, and I was bored one day, and I was like, "Okay, guys, hit me with your hate mail." And they sent me some great hate mail. I loved it, and I made some really good friends over it.
Guys, that is not encouragement for you to send us hate mail, though.
I mean, it depends what they're hating.
K-drama fans are like way too polite to ever send hate mail.
And even if they do send us hate mail, I suspect that it'll be like really polite hate mail. That's just like,
you don't like Oppa.
Yeah.
No, I think it takes too much effort to write an email. I mean, just by the medium alone, you filter out a lot of the kind of reactionary, how dare you criticize Oppa. I mean, who's got the commitment to sit through 2 hours of podcast?
That particular demographic who would be like, how dare you criticize Oppa? I don't think they write emails anymore.
Exactly. Like, what's an email? Is that like something your grandparents used to do?
Exactly.
I mean, they even think Twitter is outdated.
Okay, guys. So, so finally, I think that's a good point to wrap up on. And we do have something planned pretty soon. We just recorded a hospital playlist, a spoiled yak for hospital playlist. We should have that out pretty soon. We don't know if it's going to be before or after the yak, but look out for it, guys.
Yeah, that's why we didn't talk about hospital playlist in this yak, because that's coming soon.
Yeah. We thought it deserved its own space.
And the other thing that we just want to remind you is that we've been we've returned a little bit to our natural medium, and there's a bunch of new posts on our blog at dramasoverflowers.net, where I write a literal thesis, as I previously said, about Find Yourself, the Chinese drama. And Anissa has written a really thorough and excellent review of 365. What was the full name of that drama?
Repeat the Year.
In the Weekend Drama Reports. And the Weekend Drama Reports go up weekly. Check in on Monday night or Tuesday morning, depending on where you are in the world. And that's where we have like weekly check-ins on what we're watching. We also would like to point you to our Weekend Drama Report of the first week of June, I think, which we kind of did a Black Lives Matter special. That was a week that we really felt we needed to do that. And we hope you'll check that out as well. What else have we done on the blog?
We have a lot of things planned.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming.
So we've got a really fun thing coming up, which by the time this comes out should have gone up. It involves Imino. Go and check it out.
All right.
Many Iminhos.
And you can find us on Twitter at Dramas Overflow. And you can find us on Instagram at dramasoverflowers_podcast. Yes, I did it.
Yeah.
And
I didn't know that.
And you can email us at dramasoverflowers@gmail.com. And if you want to find us individually, you can find me, Porma, at Festa Faster. Anissa?
And you can find me at AnissaKhalifa_.
And you can find me at, I can't remember what it was. Oh, yeah. Not Now Sire. That's on Twitter. That's the only social media I can handle. And that's it.
All right, guys.
So that's guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.